The Castle in the Attic, Chapter 6. It was past 9. William had finished his homework and his supper. Once he had said goodnight to his parents and Mrs. Phillips, he crept upstairs to the attic with the 2 bugs, his flashlight, and his magnifying glass. He wanted to take a closer look at the token. The knight was waiting for him. The round circle of the flashlight found him in the middle of the courtyard. "Could you bring up a candle next time you come? I have preparations to make, and I find it difficult to work when there is no moon." William smiled. "I can leave a small lamp on all night if that would give you enough light. Nobody will notice it from the outside because the nearest house is hidden by a row of trees." The Silver Knight watched from the lowered drawbridge as William connected 2 extension cords and dragged an old bedside lamp over to the castle. "We don't use candles anymore, Sir Simon. Somebody discovered electricity about 100 years ago. If we flip this..." William pushed the light switch. A light goes on. "A miracle," said the knight, his eyes blinking in the sudden brightness. "I brought 2 bugs and my magnifying glass. Oh, and this," William said, producing a small plastic container filled with cut-up food of various sorts. "None of this will go bad, so you can eat whenever you want instead of always having to wait for me." William put his hand through the doors of the kitchen and propped the container on its side against the back wall of the room. That way, the knight wouldn't have to climb into it to reach his dinner. Sir Simon picked through the small bits of dried fruits, granola, cracker crumbs, and crumbled potato chips. He scooped a selection of foods onto his plate. "Could you please move this wooden table to the courtyard?" Sir Simon asked. "I have always fancied eating in the open air, and it would mean you and I could talk while I dine." The knight stood out of the way in the corner of the kitchen as William arranged the table and 2 benches in the middle of the courtyard. Sir Simon settled down to eat. I do not mean to be critical, my lord, but I do long... I do not mean to be critical, my lord, but I do long for a good slice of venison and a tankard of dark ale." "We have deer in the wood, Sir Simon, but I don't think I'd be too good at shooting them," William said with a smile. "While you're eating, could I see the token again? I'd like to take a closer look at it under my magnifying glass." The little knight produced the token from his pouch and handed it over. Holding the medallion carefully in his palm, William moved close to the light to look at it. The head of Janus was clearly carved in the metal, and the leer on his face looked evil under the magnifying glass. William handed it back. "Was Janus smiling on the other side of the token?" he asked as he got out his box of bugs. "I doubt he was smiling, but, as I recall, the expression was a friendly one," Sir Simon said, making room on the table. William lifted the top of the box and peered in at the 2 bugs. "Well, they're still alive," he announced. "Are you ready? They're quite big. If they come out of the box quickly, they might knock you over." Sir Simon looked mildly alarmed. "What word are you going to use this time?" William asked. "Janus," said Sir Simon. "It seems the obvious one." He stood at the ready, with the token held out in front of him. William tipped the gray creatures out onto the table. They moved away sluggishly at first, unused to their new freedom. William glanced at the knight. When he looked back at the table, the sow bugs were gone. "What happened?" he cried. The knight pointed at the floor where 2 specks of black pepper seemed to be moving about by the table legs. "They reached the edge of the table just as I said Janus!" Sir Simon exclaimed. "We have found the word that makes the token work!" He walked over and speared both beetles cleanly with his dagger before William could stop him. "Why did you do that?" William cried. The knight popped them in his mouth and chewed thoughtfully. "Not bad! A little dry, but tasty." He wagged his finger at William. "They would never have survived this world at their size anyway. You are too squeamish for your own good, young William. And now, if you will help me clear away the food, I shall return to my training exercises," the knight announced. "The armory is well equipped in this castle. I have found quite an adequate sword to replace the one I left behind. What are you training for? William asked, as he put the table back in the kitchen. For my return, Sir Simon said. I shall be going back to reclaim my kingdom from Alastor. He seemed so sure of himself that William was reluctant to tell him it was impossible. How do you plan to get back there? He asked quietly. It will happen when everything is in place. There is a riddle written over the front door of the castle, young William, the knight explained. You would do well to read it. William lay down on the floor, so that his eyes were level with the arched double doors of the entrance. Peering through his magnifying glass, he read the words with the lamp tipped toward them. When the lady doth ply her needle, and the lord his sword doth test, then the squire shall cross the drawbridge, and the time will be right for a quest. But who is the lady and who is the squire? The knight shrugged. We shall find out in due course. Until then, I shall prepare myself. Is it okay if I watch? William asked. The knight didn't reply. He stood in the stable yard, his sword at the ready, advancing on an imaginary target. With a roar, he made a thrust, first to the left and then to the right, ducking and weaving all the time to avoid the blows of his adversary. William watched in silence. He could see that the knight was quite agile and a powerful swordsman. But what good would that do against Alastor's magic powers? William wondered. At the bottom of the attic steps, the door opened, and the overhead light went on suddenly. Sir Simon ran for his hiding place in the stable. William froze. The face that appeared at the top of the steps was his father's. It's 10:30, William, his father said. I thought you went to bed hours ago. I couldn't sleep, so I came to play with the castle, William said, getting up. His father looked around. I haven't been in the attic in years, he said. I suppose we should clean this place out sometime. It's a terrible fire hazard. You say that every year, Dad, William said, edging toward the steps. But his father didn't get the hint. It's quite a remarkable castle, isn't it? He said. I had to help Mrs. Phillips carry it upstairs on Monday morning. She told me she was giving it to you to keep. That's right, William said. Show me how it works, his father said, getting down on his hands and knees. William showed him the drawbridge and the portcullis, and then took him on a tour of the bedroom wing, staying as far away as possible from the stable. But his father wanted to see it all. What's over on this side? He asked, poking open the kitchen door. That's the kitchen, William said. Look at that fireplace. It even has a roasting pit. It does? William hadn't noticed that before. His father's eyes wandered toward the knight's hiding place. That's just the stable, Dad, William said loudly. Nothing in there to see. Why, look, there's something lying here on the floor, said his father, picking up the silver knight's shield. He handed it to William. Some brave soldier on the run must have dropped it. Before William could answer, there was a sound downstairs. William, are you up there? It was his mother's voice. He groaned. This was turning into a party. We're coming down, his father called quickly. Be right there. He grinned at William. We've got to raise the drawbridge and lower the portcullis. Can't leave the castle defenseless. William nodded. He hadn't seen his father this excited about something in a long time. You realize this castle is missing a very important part of its defenses. It is? William asked. The moat! It needs a moat! I'll make one out of the wood in the workshop. I'll come up next week and measure for it. Great, Dad, William said. He wasn't going to get his hopes up. His father had lots of enthusiasm at the beginning of projects, but somehow they never got finished. I guess we'd better go down. He put his thumbnail-sized shield back on the table in the great hall. His father leaned over and turned off the small lamp. Guess we don't need this anymore. William hesitated. I like to leave it on, he said, just in case. His father looked at him. In case of what? Oh, nothing, William said as he started down the stairs. I was just kidding.